Love you. Thanks for the popcorn. Very good. Thank you. Love you. We interrupt this for some groundbreaking news. Robert Nozawa. Hey, Bobby. How's it going? Good, man. You're calling right in my intro. How are you? No, you're good, man. What's going on? Really? Yeah, actually, he is, bro. If I sent you an email earlier, you were literally everybody's like looking at me in the stream. They're like, "What's going on, dude?" That's awesome, you guys. I am on live with Robert Nozawa. Hey, Robert, you want to do an interview, man? All right. Hey, guys. Unprecedented, unscripted. We are going to speak with Mr. Robert Nozawa. Dude, we couldn't have planned this any better. In the chat, before I put you on speaker, Earn Dog, Ralph Dean, Robert Wallace, Dee Dee, Jen Manga, Tracy Adams, Heather Coes. We got a full house tonight, dude. They are. I'm going to stick you on speakerphone in just a sec. Wow, dude. It's funny how shit happens. But I opened up with a little bit of Van Halen pound cake. But here we go. I'm about to put you on speakerphone, Robert. By the way, for those of you that don't know, this is the first time that we've actually ever spoke outside of email and that. So we're getting to know each other right now, right with you guys. So speakerphone in 3, 2, 1. All right, ladies and gentlemen, unprecedented. You couldn't plan this shit any better than we planned it right now. Robert Nozawa, please speak out and say hello to the Bill Mish Show family. I'm sorry.
Aloha. I'm live with Bill on the Bill Mish Show.
Aloha, he say. Nice to have you, man. Before we get into anything that I totally don't have any questions for and I'm completely unprepared, Robert had called and he knew that I had some concerns about Robert Wallace. And what he was doing is you were checking in with me, right, bro? Just see if I heard anything.
Well, I just got home. I haven't had time to get onto the computer, and so I just figured I'd give you a call.
I'm glad you did. I'm glad you did. Before we go any further into this conversation, Robert Nozawa, let me just clarify. Guys, give me a number 1 if you can hear Robert Nozawa just fine over the microphone. If it's bad, give me a number 2. And just based off that, we're going to just jump right into I'm seeing some number 1s. I'm seeing number 1s. I'm seeing them. So everybody is hearing you loud and clear, Robert Nozawa. Now,
perfect.
Before we go into anything, guys, you're hearing this as I am for the first time, and I just have to get like something clarified out of the way. Robert Nozawa, thank you, dude, for like your friendship and the awesomeness that you have put into some of the emails and that kind of stuff. I thank you from the bottom of my heart, dude, for real. You're
Bill, I want to thank you. You put out more out there than anyone could ever ask for. Proud to be part of your stream.
Man, dude, thank you. That's humbling, and I appreciate that. I do. I feel like more or less I get on here and put my clown suit on and kind of act like a fool a lot of times, but it does make me happy. It makes me happy.
I wouldn't have it any other way, Bill.
Thanks, man. I won't get into a lot of detail about, and I've said it before, the respect that I have for Robert Nozawa. Now, by the way, happy Father's Day. It is Father's Day here on the East Coast. And I know that you have a little bit of time ahead of you, but whether it's with your own children or with your father, I know that you hold a deep, deep respect for your dad. And I get that because he jumps in, guys, and he, like I said, without getting into a lot of detail, and this is totally unscripted, he is jumping in and being the absolute perfect son, jumping in and taking over the family business while his father recovers, man. I mean, you're an awesome dude. You're an awesome human being. I'm so fortunate to have you here with me, dude. And I just wanted to say happy Father's Day. And
appreciate that. Thank you. And same to you. I do appreciate my dad. He's a Vietnam veteran who was in live combat and definitely served his country. He was called to do so, and he made it back. So I'm grateful for that.
Absolutely. Because you're no, I don't want to get into complete detail because I know that how things can be sometimes when we're dealing with our heroes that were in the Vietnam deal and Korean even. But does your pops ever talk about it, or has he ever like clued you into any of the things that were going on in the Vietnam conflict? And if you can't talk about it, that's okay too. I'm just.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. He tried to shelter us from what he went through as we were growing up. As we got older, then he started sharing, and you really get to know the man and what he went through, and I can understand his issues with PTSD, and we can connect better now that I understand how he feels.
And when did you start learning about that? I'm just curious. Was it as a young man, or was it as you started to learn more and more about the Vietnam War?
No, it was more of when I was an adult. I knew Vietnam history, but I got more in depth as I got older and he started to share more.
Right on. And that can, sometimes that's better for them than it is for us. I mean, sometimes it helps them.
Bill, I can share how disappointed I was that our government gave him such a hard time in getting the care that he needed.
Absolutely. Please.
Eventually he did get it.
Yeah, please do. Please just kind of jump into that wherever you feel comfortable talking about it, because our guys did take a lot of heat as they came back. And yeah, tell us a little bit about that.
Well, yeah, he dealt with his medical issues and his psychological issues on his own till maybe the late 90s. That's a long time. And then someone convinced him to go and try again to get help from the VA. But they gave him so much hard time. It was actually 2 or 3 years before they actually gave him benefits.
So he had to go back and fight and refight and fight again after he had been through all that to get his benefits. And
yeah, to prove that he was a combat veteran, it's kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, absolutely. And was the end result of that worth it to your dad? I mean, does he feel?
Well, definitely. He's getting the medical attention. He was getting the psychological attention until they ran out of funds for that.
And what did they say they ran out of funds for? Why did they say that happened? Any explanation? If you don't know, that's fine too.
I'll just say I don't know.
Okay. I guess that doesn't surprise me completely, Robert, to hear that that's something that they would say to one of our, and absolutely my hat is off to your dad, as well as any of the people in this chat who has had a family member or anybody that's ever been to Vietnam, Korea, World War II. I mean, my family is heavily vested in almost every war except for Korean War. But it doesn't surprise me, Robert, I guess is what I'm getting at, that he would run into an issue as far as something like funding, having served the country. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that those injustices are things that President Trump is actually trying to correct, so that someone like your father, who we are deeply indebted to, with him and everybody that he's been with, doesn't have to run into those types of problems going in the future. Does your dad feel that way? Does he?
Well, I've enlightened him out on. We understand how the world works and how who perpetuate all these wars and how the banking systems comes into play with that. And just like us, he served his country, but at the same time, knowing the truth kind of hurts, right?
Absolutely. Yes.
You get what I'm saying? I'm not sure if I'm getting the ground.
No, I absolutely get what you're saying, and I don't know if you guys in the chat can hear exactly what Robert's saying, but what he's getting at is that it's hard to be a full-blooded American. Now, that doesn't have a color in it, guys. It means that your blood is red, white, and blue. And when you go over there and you lay it out for your country and you come back, and now all of a sudden you're treated, I guess, what would I say, Robert? You're treated inferior. You're not a war hero. You're any of those bad things that they tried to paint.
They come back in one piece, but at the same time they're broken on the inside.
That's well put. That is absolutely well put. There's no prosthetic, you guys, for what Robert's saying. You go over there, you come back. The fortunate ones come back in one piece. Now, some of them are battling things that are inside of them that maybe they wish that they didn't come back. And they carry that guilt of watching their brothers go through all this. But while that's happening, they carry the truth in their heart of knowing that the reason that they're over there might not completely be for the reasons that they're told. And so they come back broken on the inside. And I'm here to tell you, there's no prosthetic for an amputated spirit. You can't have your heart is amputated and your heart's in the right place. And I totally understand that, Robert. I'll tell you that my hat is off to your dad and everybody that's been over there, because that's not an easy gig, is it?
Oh yeah, definitely not.
Absolutely not. Well, guys, it's nuts. As I said before, we didn't have any questioning lined up for what we're talking about. We're just getting to know each other.
Any questions?
Let me find out, Robert. Robert Nazawa wants to know if anybody has any questions. For those of you that are new to the chat or just getting here, understand that Robert Nazawa does live in Hawaii, which, you know, they get a little volcano issue going on over there. He's he's not on the island of Hawaii, but I'm certain that he's seen the smoke. But I want to tie one thing into this while people are thinking of any questions they have for you, Robert, and that's that, guys, I didn't address it yet, but Robert Wallace finally got a hold of me, and he lost his phone. Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, man. So he finally got himself into a position where he was back on social media, and he came into my Twitter, and he actually replied to my Twitter first, and he said, "Hey man, the first wave took out my phone. How's everything going? Is there anything new?" He like hasn't known any of the shit I've been going through, or any of you guys. And it's, you know, that ties right into his spirit, dude. It's such a good guy.
Awesome. It's great to hear that he's safe and sound. And so ask Robert if he's back from vacation or if he's still on Maui.
All right. Well, I'm going to put the question out there just in case anybody didn't hear it. I think I happen to know the answer to this because we did connect a little earlier. But Robert Nazawa wants to know if you're safe and sound back from your vacation. And what he was wondering is that if you were in Maui. Now, you guys might teach me a little something about geographics here, because as I understand it, Robert Nazawa, that he was on the smallest island that's in Hawaii. What one is that? Yeah, the furthest to which one?
To the north.
I thought he said Hawaii, but I think he said something like Kauai or something like that.
Kauai.
Does that make sense?
That's not the smallest island, but that's the second to the farthest north in the state.
Okay, I you know what, I could have that wrong. He said Kauai, Kauai. So in translation, I'm sure that I got that messed up because I was just happy and was like, Robert Wallace, that's great, man. That's great. I'm glad you said, well, you're in Kauai, it's smallest island. That's fantastic.
That's a beautiful island to visit.
Yeah. A beautiful island. And how far away are you actually from that island? Like if you jumped on a plane tomorrow, Robert Nazawa, how long would it take you to get there?
Oh, gee, I tell you the truth, I don't even know. Never been there myself. I just see pictures of it from friends.
That's funny, man.
Not going to be very long. I don't think a couple hours.
I was going to say, there can't be an island that's probably more than like 4 or 5 minutes to an hour from anywhere you fly out of Hawaii, maybe. But that makes sense.
Like driving to work or driving home from work, I can see the island of Molokai towards the east.
Okay. And is that like the third biggest island in Hawaii?
That's one of the smaller islands also.
That's one of the smaller. So I think there's only 5, so that might like land right in the middle. Now, can I ask you anything about the volcanoes that are going off in Hawaii?
Well, I'm probably getting the same news from the media that you guys might see online from KHON2 or any of the other local channels here.
Okay. All right.
We are getting fog. We're getting southern winds.
And did you say VOG with a V?
Yeah, rather than saying fog, it's fog. It's volcanic haze. All of the emissions from the volcano come up as the winds blow it up towards the other island.
Okay. And does that smell different in the air? I mean, can you smell something that's like that's burnt sulfur?
Sensitive. I can be sensitive, but if you have allergies or a hard time breathing, it might be an issue. Might affect your your eyes, some people might sneeze.
Sure. So it's not
particulates in the air. Yeah.
It's nothing that you actually though can visually say, look at, I'm looking over here and I see that volcano going off and I can see it smoking, but it indirectly, if it blows in your direction, then it's affecting you.
Oh yeah, the sky gets foggy is what we call it here. It's just almost like a haze, a gray haze that comes over, and depending on how thick it is, just makes the air in front of you just kind of hazy.
Is it safe to say that a hazy sky is not something that you're used to in Hawaii?
No, every once in a while we get southern winds and the volcano emissions blow up from the south.
They're probably coming from LA or something, blowing across. I guess I can understand.
Sometimes we send a Pineapple Express up towards Pentecost.
She gets it up into Washington State. Yeah, a little bit blows by everybody. I can understand that. If there's 365 days in a year, Robert Nozawa, how many of them are sunny?
Oh, good question. I'd say at least 70 to 80% of the days.
70 to 80%. And with that same line of questioning, out of 365 days in a year, how many would you say have any emoticum of rain?
Oh, it varies from year to year, so that would be a difficult question.
Okay.
Sometimes we have a completely dry year, or it can be just a terrible year with a whole bunch of rain.
And does that tie into like El Nino or La Nina, that kind of stuff, or does that just have nothing to do with what you guys are going through?
That's very tricky because, even if they name it that way, it's still a coin toss.
Mm-hmm.
You can't predict the weather.
Do anybody in the islands have, like, if somebody's from your island of Oahu and somebody's from Hawaii, and then somebody's from Kauai, do you guys speak a different language of Hawaiian within those different islands?
Well, there is, as far as I know, there's only one Hawaiian language.
Okay.
But the local English, which is Pidgin, which is a mix of cultures, you can use in one sentence. You can use, say, Portuguese, Japanese, Filipino, Caucasian, English, all in the same sentence, and people would understand you. But if you go to different communities on the different islands, there's also a different, like, I would say, dialect of Pidgin.
Sure.
They make up their own words or pronunciations of things.
Kind of not so different from where we all are here on the mainland, is that
I'm sure.
You may have, like, everybody speaks English for the most part, but you have different things that maybe mean different things, or a different way of saying things. So that makes a lot of sense.
Just like on the mainland, because I have experience working there, and so it took an adjustment for the folks around me to understand what I was saying, because I had to learn to speak well to communicate. Yeah,
and I can understand. How long had you lived in the Hawaiian Islands before you kind of accepted that I'm an actual Hawaiian? Have you lived there your whole life?
Oh yeah, I was born and raised here.
Okay. So let's get to the $20,000 question here. When you get a white bald guy from Michigan that comes into Hawaii, what is the one thing that lets you know that he's an absolute white bald-headed guy from Michigan?
Basically how you speak. So right off the bat, I know that you're not from here, pretty much.
And that's with most tourists, that you just kind of understand that, you guys aren't from here, and it's very clear and apparent. How do you feel about those people when they come to see you? Not me, because I think you'd be cool with me if I came and saw you, but Is there one thing that's a stigmatism with the tourists that when they come, you're just like, man, I can't freaking stand those people that blah, blah, blah?
No, actually, growing up, that there seemed to be a stigma, but as an adult, if you're a worldly person, you whether you've been on the mainland, been here, or some other country, every place is the same, and people, you should understand that, and I treat people the same, whether you're from far away or you were born and raised here.
Right on, dude. Man, that is.
I have a corn stand which I work at during, like, I was out there today, and that's who I deal with. I deal with locals, and I deal with a whole bunch of tourists because busloads of tourists come every day, and they eat from the shrimp farm across the street from me, and they come over, and I show them how to eat local sweet corn. And
absolutely.
People are just amazed that you can eat a corn raw here.
I guess you could eat corn raw anywhere, but yeah, that amazes me that you guys actually grow corn. So when I heard that you were working a corn farm, I was like, I thought they only did that shit in the Midwest, like Iowa and stuff, where they, that's where they make scarecrows.
Oh yeah, well, what surprises me is folks from those states, the corn states, they come and they eat my variety, and they're like amazed. They're like, yeah, we don't have corn that's good where we grow our own corn.
I can understand that. Now, you mainly being from can I just say that I know that you're helping out your family and everything, and there's like, farmland and that kind of stuff. What percentage would you say of the farmland that you guys live on, you and your sister, I think you told me? What percentage of that is it sweet corn? Is that what you grow?
Yeah, it's sweet corn. And I also grow tropical ginger flowers.
Ginger flowers. Tell me a little bit more about what a ginger flower is. Is that like ginger root?
It's a family of the ginger root, the type of ginger that we put in cooking. But it's purely for ornamental flower arrangements, or what a lot of people here use them for is to take to the grave sites to honor their fallen loved ones.
Okay, all right, and that's beautiful. Is there any medicinal purposes within the ginger flower, similar to like ginger root?
I've never looked into it, but the demand is just great for that particular use I mentioned. That's all I have time for.
Yeah.
To harvest it and take to the cemeteries, and they sell them for a reasonable price for people to buy and put onto the gravesite.
And that's awesome, dude. And I'm sorry about the series of questions, because I'm just trying to bang out anything that pops off the top of my head, because this wasn't planned. But I do see one question in the chat where Robert Wallace wants to know if you grow non-GMO corn, or is that like Monsanto corn, or is it local corn?
It's not. It's absolutely non-GMO. The culture here is the Hawaiian people believe that they derived and was born from the kalo plant, which is taro, which is what you make poi out of.
Okay.
It's a staple food, and so when the University of Hawaii tried to manipulate the gene of the kalo plant genetically, there was a really big issue with the Hawaiian population.
They took
to honor my Hawaiian friends. I did my research and looked up genetically modified things, and just personally, it's not naturally occurring in the world. For some instances, it might help humankind, but at the same time, if you have the choice to choose between something genetically modified or something naturally occurring, my thing as a farmer and a human, I go with the natural.
I think you're absolutely right. And I think that maybe in this diversity that all of us share together from being in different sections of the world, in some cases with Ralph Dean, but even in the US, that we don't want genetically modified anything. In fact, one thing I happen to know for a fact is that anything that you could buy in a store that comes from Italy, in other words, it's from there is specifically no GMO in it. And if you guys are growing the same thing, as far as staying true to the actual, the plant as it grows, I think that's such a good thing, and I think it's going to come back to that. I think there's so many people waking up to that, and maybe that's why your corn is wonderful raw and why it tastes so delicious.
And on my corn stand, there's a big sign in the back of me that says GMO free, non-GMO, and I'm surprised that even today people don't understand that, and they ask me about that.
There's so many people that are still asleep to so many things, like not just the truth in life and what's going on, but yeah, especially in food, they're clueless. Can you tell me a little bit more about poi, which is POI? Is that right?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, and tell me what that's used for specifically, or how do you make it?
So the kalo plant is a root plant that can grow in water or can grow in dry land, and so you harvest the kalo root. And to make poi, they either bake the taro root, or you can steam it. And to make poi, there's a special stone and a special board that they use, and I'd say just pound the heck out of the taro root until it becomes a consistency of, I would say,
like cinnamon,
slime.
like slime. Okay. Well, you just beat the hell out of it with a couple rocks in until it becomes acceptable to eat. And now, is that something that tastes good? I mean, is it added to like things that you cook with?
An acquired taste.
The locals say.
Growing up, it's like eating rice. There's really there is a flavor, a distinct flavor, but it's really bland. So growing up, as kids, we just add some sugar, and make it sweet.
So it's kind of sounds to me, honestly, if I could just like sum it up, like it's really, really good for you, but maybe it tastes a lot like Vegemite as opposed to peanut butter.
I couldn't tell you. I don't know what Vegemite is.
I honestly don't either, but I just, anything that's got the name Vegemite in it and it spreads like peanut butter has got to taste god awful. but maybe all the health things outweigh it. What is the one thing that you wish people on the mainland knew about you guys that live on the islands? I mean, if you could just say there's one thing that I wish you guys all knew about us, what would that be?
Oh, gee.
Maybe that's too broad. Maybe I'll shorten it down.
Okay.
All right. I haven't thought about these questions at all. Tell me about what's the deadliest. Go ahead.
Let me stop you.
Yeah, go ahead.
We're just like you. We're tied into the system. It's got most of us bogged down, which is why I think most of us are asleep. We're so bogged down in trying to work and make money and pay these bills, and we end up being zombies. And I guess that's the way I was. Just so busy, not even wanting to learn more about the truth.
Mm-hmm. What woke you up?
One day, a few years back, one of my uncles said, he was awakened, and it was just simple. He said, "What are you going to use your greenbacks for?" And why not? Why don't you look into getting some precious metal? And that just got me thinking, and I started my research there.
So precious metals were kind of the gateway to you getting your awakening?
Yeah, getting into more of the in-depth things of being awake.
Yeah. And would you say that you're more of a gold guy, or would you say you're more of a silver guy?
I have both. I'll just say that.
Okay, you're hedged in both of those, and just so you know, at least as far as you and I are concerned, we're batting 1,000. I'm hedged in both of those as well, and precious metals was one of the very first things that I ran into when I had seen the handwriting on the wall of what was going on, as your uncle said, with the greenback, with what was going on with the U.S. economy, with how everything was out there. And although I say it's important that any of you out there don't try to put everything that you have into those commodities, it's probably a good bet to just, like I said with cryptocurrencies, it's good to just start accumulating a little bit at a time. So it's just food for thought, you guys.
Think of it as an insurance policy.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. What is the deadliest animal on your island of Oahu in Hawaii, Robert?
The one walking on 2 feet.
A politician. Yeah, we know when they're lying. Their lips are moving.
Just there's like anywhere else. There's just so much crime.
So not so much with like any of the wildlife. It's not like a crazy spider or snake.
If you're talking about wildlife, I deal with wild boar, so I've had a lot of experience hunting and animal containment and control, especially on the farm.
Yeah, yeah. Did you grow up working on the farm before you went back to help mom and dad with the farm?
Oh no, absolutely. I think I'm a fourth, if not fifth generation in agriculture.
I'm surprised you guys don't write country music out there, dude. Really?
Oh, my sister adores country music now.
Because if you're looking,
it got me in my later years, but
yeah, it's something to tap your toe to. I mean, you know, if you got to listen to something, it's you know, and I ain't slamming country because it's you know, whatever. I ain't going into country music, but
you know, all of the music that you play, that's what that's more my thing.
Yeah, well, you know, I kind of got that impression we're not so much different, and would it surprise you to know that we're not so much different than a lot of the people that tune in and listen to this, except for Ralph Deem. He'd rather I play, you know, the Bee Gees or something, which I like the Bee Gees. I do. I dig it. I dig it. And have you ever lived on any of the other islands that are in Hawaii, or have you been in Oahu your whole life?
Oahu, I visited the Big Island. I've been all over the Big Island a few times. I went to Maui for a wrestling tournament in high school. I also went to wrestling tournaments on the west coast of the mainland.
What brought you to the wrestling tournaments?
I competed.
Yeah. Okay. I was just curious because again, guys, Robert and I have never spoke, but I grew up wrestling my entire life, Robert, and
cool.
you know, I wrestled in state and all of that growing up in my younger years.
Yeah, me too.
Did you really? Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. No wonder we get along. We could have a good. How about those January, February, December, no eating months? I don't know. Maybe you didn't struggle to cut weight. I did a lot.
I'll tell you a little bit about that. For my senior year for states, I think 3 of my buddies in the lower class weights didn't make grade, or one of them got into trouble. So coach came up to me and said, "It's up to you, but we need some help, and if you'd be willing to drop down." So I was in about the 175 range, and I went down to 135, which was
yeah. Dude, 40 pounds. Were you in high school then?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh my God. They asked you to cut 40 pounds in high school to go to 135?
Yeah, yeah. I did that.
You're Asian, right, dude? Are you Asian?
Oh, yeah.
Asian? Where do you carry 40 extra pounds being an Asian on your body? I just have to know this.
No, I really got weak, and it did hurt my performance.
Did you? Okay.
But I did end up getting the team more points than that I hope they were grateful for.
Unbelievable. You had to drag yourself on the mat to even shake the dude's head to like start the wrestling, right? You're just done.
Yeah, our school did take the state championship. So,
you were a part of that. That's fantastic.
It was worth the sacrifice.
Oh, geez, man, dude, you just earned. Now, I'm guessing that a lot of people that are in the chat. Listen, this is not a knock on anybody in the chat, but Robert Nozawa and I, not ever having spoken with each other, just found out that we were both wrestlers. And when I tell you that in his high school years, that he went from 175 to 135, 40 pounds of weight in your high school years, it's beyond, I understand why the coach said it's up to you, because he didn't want the liability. It was like, this guy probably lived in a sweatsuit for the better part of 3 weeks, and didn't eat anything. Yeah, you have a lot of respect for me, bro, because I've been there cutting weight, and I know how good a candy bar can look after you like not ate for like 8 days, and just any food really. It's amazing, dude. Absolutely amazing. Yeah, apparently you do. That seems unwinnable, but it's phenomenal, dude. My hat's off to you. Let's pivot into, what should I pivot into, Robert? I'm like I said, I didn't know we were going to talk, and I'm just kind of shooting from the hip.
What comes to mind?
I don't think I've seen any questions in the chat. Do you have any thoughts on the meeting between Kim Jong-un and President Trump, and what that means and what that could mean for our future? And if not, that's
outstanding. No, I think it's wonderful. A great success for this president, and if it does go through, great for all countries,
Yeah, that was a big issue in the last 3 presidencies, was talking about the nuclear threat that North Korea had. And I guess if I'm going to pivot off of that, did you catch the IG report that was brought out? And if you didn't, that's fine, dude. I understand. You've been putting like 18 hours in there.
I did not.
Yeah, Rob, again, guys, I mean, this is unscripted. I hate to keep clarifying this, but really, we never spoke before. So you guys are getting it the same as us. And I don't know where to go with it, but what I can tell you is what I had said earlier, is that for his family, Robert has been spending the better part of 14 to 18 hours in the family business, really stepping up for his dad. So
well, Bill, just so that everyone knows, I've been doing this. I've been back here working on the farm since 1995.
Yeah.
So,
would you say you're
new to me? It's just much longer hours right now, because both my parents are out of the picture for now.
Yeah, and I was going to bring that full circle and say that I didn't know that you had been on the farm that long, but it, really to the point I was going to make is that it's the amount of hours that you're having to put in. So sometimes that takes your head off of what's going on in general life, but it takes nothing away from what I was saying, dude. I mean, tip of the cap to you, because at the end of the day, if it's not for your family, then those we love, what are you here for? So anyway, have you ever been to the location where the Brady Bunch filmed their Hawaiian vacation from?
It's funny you ask. I don't know why, but I was on the computer, and I don't know what caused me to look that up, but I didn't recognize the locations. But it was just funny how they portrayed you visitors and how they portrayed locals. It was just so strange.
I can understand that. Have you ever been to where the Arizona was sunk?
Oh yes, I visited.
And can you actually like? I've never been to Hawaii, so I mean, I'm asking out of total ignorance. Obviously, they have something set up there that tells you about the Arizona, but when you look into the water, do you actually see the ship?
Yes, you do, and oil still drips upwards to the surface.
Oil still dripping out of it. Wow, that must be sobering.
It is just honoring standing above that ship because it is a tomb, and all of those men are still resting there.
They are, yeah, and I did hear that. As much as I don't know about that, I did know that that's their permanent location. Was your father alive, Robert, when World War II happened and when Pearl Harbor was bombed? Or let me just flush that a little further. Was your dad's dad in Hawaii when that happened, or did you hear any?
Yes, my grandfather. I got to see my grandparents were sent to these Japanese internment camps. They had one nearby to where I live currently in the valley.
Which means because he looked Chinese or Japanese or just basically Asian, they basically decided they couldn't trust them and stuck them into a camp because they didn't know what side they were on, right?
Being an American, it is understandable that they did that.
I suppose if they treated them okay, then that's acceptable. But you know, when I look back at that war, Robert Nazel, and I don't want to like really rehash history, but when you understand the motivation behind that war and why it happens, or why it happened, and you know, I won't go down that rabbit hole so much. I did though, like a couple of weeks ago, I spoke about World War II and why we were in it. And that being said, both of my grandparents were both in World War II. One in the Battle of the Bulge, one was in the South Pacific with the kamikaze fighters. But at the end of the day, when we know why they were actually there, it pisses me off, dude. It does, because it never needed to happen, nor did we want it to happen. But your grandparents understand that, right? Why they were put in these camps?
I don't know. I was too young back then to question that, or to even understand it back then. While they were alive, to question it that way.
Yeah, I can understand that. I can totally understand that. But at any rate, because of that war and what had happened, you're telling me that they've got a nice dedication set up with the Arizona. Are there any other ships that are sunk like in the area from that day that you know of? I mean, I'm just, or is it just the Arizona?
Just not offhand. Yeah, the Arizona is the only memorial that I know of.
Okay. Did you ever see the movie Pearl Harbor?
Yes, I did.
What'd you think of that? Did it look pretty accurate to the layout of obviously Hawaii, like when you saw them? I mean, what was the sentiment around the island? I think
it was nicely done. I think it was really nicely done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I saw
really Hollywood. You can tell it's Hollywood, but
you see it's Hollywood. I saw it on the big screen. It was it was quite impressive, having never been to Hawaii. It was quite impressive, and I think it was the nuances in the movie that most captivated me. Like when they showed the Japanese fighter flying in, and they were flying over a baseball field, and they showed the Japanese fighter seeing these kids playing baseball, and they were like trying to wave them, like get out of the way. You know what I mean? It really brought a human element to the movie, and that's not something that's just written into the movie. You know,
I think those things were actually events that happened, and they wanted to get that across to the audience.
Yeah, totally. I agree. I agree. So what's the rest of your year look like? I mean, dude, I could sit here and go for like 4 hours if you just let me fire question after question. Like I said, we didn't plan this, and coming up with things to find out about you, like as if you and I were sitting on the phone just meeting for the first time. But
well, right now I'm wishing that you guys are all here, enjoying this view that I have. The sun has gone down here right now, but my house overlooks the ocean. I have a unique property that runs from the beachfront to the top of the mountain here, and it's a property that it was a childhood dream. I drove past it with my folks going to school every day when I was growing up, and I always thought I saw this old couple in the patio overlooking the ocean, and I say, wow, that would be great one day if I could get that place.
Really?
And lo and behold, I'm sitting here and enjoying that view.
Oh my God! How long did it take you before you could actually obtain that?
When I was in college, I kept coming back and admiring the property. It's an old house. It's the same old house. And
you know what they say: location, location, location.
In 1997, my real estate agent called me and said, "Hey, there's a property in your neighborhood. You want to go look at it?" And just lo and behold, it was nice.
It's absolutely amazing, dude. I mean, you are in the place that you're going to be in until you're finished, in this world, I'm sure.
I hope so, yeah.
Being on the ocean, having a mountain ridge next to you. And I can absolutely appreciate being on water, probably not to the degree that you can, because even my wife and I mean, we both grew up our summers with our grandparents living on nice, humongous freshwater lakes. But there's nothing we love more than going into a place like the Caribbean and hearing that ocean surf just lightly washing up onto the shore, and just that smell.
I hear that all night. I hear that.
Dude, they package that up and what's that?
It's just soothing, just hearing it all the time.
It is. I was going to say, it's one of the sounds that they put into these like white noise boxes, like the ocean. It's like, there's no substitute for the real thing. And especially when you get that saltwater breeze just kind of hitting you in the face. I mean, something magical happens when you're in that atmosphere, dude. You need to open a B&B, Robert Nocella.
Oh yeah, my family's been always saying that.
Absolutely, dude. Just like build a hut, because nobody's going to stay in the place. They're going to want to be out on the sites.
Yeah, there's this little old house overlooking the ocean on the side of this gradual slope, and it's 3.5 acres.
Nice.
With this little house on it,
I'll be your first guest. Shawnee and I'll come out. We'll be your first guest, dude, on your B&B. That's not much of a commitment on my part. It would be an honor. Yeah. Open this up. Let us come hang out, dude. Without that being weird, though, it sounds like you got a real nice little gig out there, and just a real piece of. I mean, if you think about this, Robert, you live in a place that is written about in books, and it's written about. You live in a slice of heaven on earth.
Oh no, and I thank God every day for it. Yeah.
It's absolutely amazing. All right, buddy. Well, again, just at the risk, we're coming up on 55 minutes. I absolutely want to pick this conversation up with you, and I appreciate your time, man. I appreciate you just being willing to let me throw you on speakerphone and we just kind of shoot from the hip for an hour.
Oh yeah.
It's been absolutely amazing, dude. And I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. And I want to make sure that we do this going forward, and make sure that we, tie in, keep communication. And if this is something that, I already do this with a couple of the people once a week. I don't know, man, maybe if I don't have somebody to interview, dude, I'm left to my own devices, and sometimes those aren't the best things to have in my life, are my own devices. Some of you will attest. I love the interaction though, and appreciate it like crazy.
Yeah, I really hope we get to hear from folks in the chat, so we get to see their perspective from where they're from, and actually get a voice to the name,
Absolutely, guys. Robert Nozawa, Oahu, Hawaii. Robert is unscripted, guys. If anybody wanted to get a hold of you, do you have an email address, or would you have to look that up and we'll cover it in our next conversation? Do you have a Twitter account, or do you want me to kind of follow that up in our next conversation? I'm just trying to let people know how to get a hold of you.
You can reach me through email. RP, R as in rabbit, E as in potato.
Okay.
My last name, Nozawa, at Gmail.
Nozawa. Rabbit Potato Nozawa. Dude. At Gmail.
You're not going to forget that, Bill?
I'll never. Dude, I'll be on my deathbed and they'll be like, do you have anything to say, Bill? I'll be like, Rabbit Potato. Pull the plug, Bill. Pull him. He's done. I'll never forget Rabbit Potato, dude. I have thoroughly enjoyed your phone call, and I think that everything happens in life for a reason, and your timing actually couldn't have been better, dude.
I love it, Bill. I love that we're all across the U.S. and other countries, and we can give everybody a heads up on what's going on in our neck of the woods. Basically that, a heads up on what we're experiencing.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more, dude. We are everywhere, and I hate to keep bringing it up, but sometimes being awake is a lonely business. So to meet awesome people like you and the people in the chat, it's a phenomenal experience, and I look forward to many more awesome adventures with you over the airwaves. And just thank you, man. Appreciate your friendship and everything that you've had to say tonight.
Okay, anytime, Bill.
All right, outstanding. I'll talk to you soon. Guys, Robert Nozawa, Oahu, Hawaii. Make sure you check him out at Rabbit Potato. Nozawa at gmail.com. I will talk to you soon. I'm going to hang up, Robert. Thank you, man.
Okay, aloha to every one of you in the chat. Thanks, Bill.
Aloha. Thank you. Sounds good, buddy. Bye. Oh, I guess my song wanted to finish playing. I'm telling you, he called right in the middle of the song. I mean, unscripted. It was absolutely amazing. All right. I don't have anything to add, guys. What a phenomenal guest and phenomenal human being. We will all get to know more about him. Again, it's RP Nozawa, which is NOZAWA at gmail.com. RP Nozawa at gmail.com. Reach out to him, say hello, tell him what you thought of the interview. For this, you guys, it's 4 minutes before 2 o'clock, and I have nothing productive to add to this conversation. So thanks for being here. Appreciate every one of you. I hope you enjoyed the interview. Bill Mish out.